If you've spent any time thinking about homelessness, you've likely concluded two very obvious things. The problem is much worse than we think, and the current solutions are not going to work long-term. When you think of homelessness, you often think of substance abuse, mental illness, not enough housing, more shelter. But I want to bring a new narrative to you today. For the last 10 years, I've been researching chronic homelessness in America and identified some major barriers that keep people on the streets. Restrictive land use being the number one reason that we don't build enough affordable housing. You might know it as not in my backyard. Unaffordable housing is a crisis across the nation. Social isolation, we have pushed people to the furthest fringes of society and said that there's no proper place for you here. Lack of any opportunity, and a fragmented social service system that leaves people without help. Ultimately, under all of those is a loss of family, a profound and catastrophic loss of family. Someone is not on the streets for a year, 5 years, 10 years, because we just don't have enough housing and social services. They have come from really broken backgrounds. And so if we don't address the loss of family, our neighbors will never become homeful. Today, I want to ask us the question, what if we were to invite the outcasts of our society to the family table? It might look something like this: a sacred settlement, an intentional tiny home community planted on local church land with the congregation wrapping around as family, friends, and a supportive community. We've been looking at all the barriers through the lens of family when we respond to each of these. Cultivated places. Church land is protected under a really strong federal land use law. So in other places where not in my backyard sentiments would not allow that type of development to happen, on church land, it can. We can build tiny homes at a fraction of the price and invite people to come and dwell indefinitely, because a highly displaced group of people don't just need shelter and transitional housing, they need a place where they can grow roots and belong. And they also need a family around them. So a third of our homes in the sacred settlements are set aside for intentional neighbors, backyard missionaries, just doing life alongside people. In every sacred settlement, we provide purposeful work opportunities so that people can have meaning and a role in society. And then we wrap them around with volunteers that are trained to walk alongside people and cheer them on. We call it a full community approach to homelessness. Because what does a familyless, homeless group of people need for a full life? They need everything that you and I need. They need places to cultivate, homes to dwell in, neighbors to lean on, work to do, friends to trust. A sacred settlement is an opportunity for us to heal together. Every one of us have experienced homelessness. Every one of us was kicked out of our garden home. We all long to be in right relationship with the Lord. We all long to be walking in the cool of the afternoon with Daddy God. And so this not only heals our neighbors coming off the streets, but also the church where it's planted. We walk hand in hand with the local church, beginning with a discernment process, and that's a two-way mutual discernment to make sure that this is a thriving and good place for our wounded neighbors to be welcomed in. To date, we've established an urban sacred settlement at a small, under-resourced, highly diverse, conservative Church of the Nazarene. We've established an urban sacred settlement at a first-ring suburb, white, affluent neighborhood that's very progressive. And what that tells me is that God is looking out and he's saying, I'm not Baptist or Presbyterian. or Lutheran. I'm a little Jewish. He can do this anywhere. He can do this anywhere where there's radical hospitality. Any congregation that says yes, yes on our land, yes in our building, yes our lives, yes. We established our first 2 sacred settlements under a big, giant hypothesis that there was this strong federal land use law. And it worked. And then we lobbied our state and said, we don't want to go city by city. We want to go state by state. We have a big problem, and we need to scale this. And so we were able to change state law. It's now the state of Minnesota is the first to establish the recognition that any faith community that wants to establish a sacred settlement on their land can. It's so good. God is so good. We're now developing sacred settlements in third-ring suburbs and rural areas, and now outside of our state, anywhere that people are rising up and saying that they want this. It's a land of opportunity. We have, quite a few people in our nation that are considered chronically homeless. They've been on the streets for years. We have more churches than we do people in chronic homelessness. And those churches that own land and buildings represent millions of acres of protected land. This is one of those acres. That small Church of the Nazarene that had no business saying yes to a sacred settlement, and yet because they had a heart for radical hospitality, they invited 5 of our hardest to house, most expensive to the public, with the least amount of options available, a group of people that our society has no imagination for. They've invited them in as family and as friends. And I invite you into this work too. A full community requires every single one of us, every skill, every resource, every one of us, building a full community, a way of life together. Thank you.